Hey, Blade fans, look out because Corgi is here. Not a new knife. I thought it was new, but it's new to me. And is it a knife or is it a dog? Vosteed certainly likes to name their knives after dogs. That's interesting. Here's their version of a Corgi, kind of all ready for the woods and the field, and got the little satchel and everything. They love these cartoonish sort of things. Not my cup of tea, but that's okay. Comes in a beautiful little pouch here. Not in the metal tin as, excuse me, many of the previous ones have come in. But there's your box. And this one's an interesting purple. I don't usually get into purples and pinks and such, but here it is. Nice color G10. I kind of like that deep purple. Yeah, purple haze. Anyway, what attracted me to it is it's a relatively small knife. You can see it's about the width of my 4 to 4.5 inch fist here. And also what's interesting is that they centered the button lock. So it goes right through the tang of the blade. I'm going to try to figure that out without disassembling it. And I would call it a corner flipper because there's your front flipper. There's your front flipper, really. Okay, there's the blade. 14C on this one, by the way. 14C 28N, nice steel. Coming in at around 60 bucks on Amazon presently. I got this one from White Mountain, and you can certainly lessen the end tab at White Mountain by using my discount code OLDSWORD for 10% off. There's my plug for myself. Did a nice job by putting the plate there. It's a flush mount, completely flush, flat-headed screws. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the way all clips, I feel, should be done, particularly the folded over deep carry type. And it's not perfectly deep carry. You've got about half an inch, a little less sticking out there because they have that screw that holds the back spacer in, just kind of a end spacer. And there's a nice little pin for your lanyard. So it's interesting. There's your back spacer, kind of goes down under and then ends up on the pommel, which is fine, you know, cool little design. Great engineers over at Vosteed. They do a super job. They provided me some knives in the past. This one was my own purchase. So it's all on me. I'm not getting any special benefits by reviewing this knife. I do see that some reviews go back as far as 6 months. That sort of interested me. And more or less others have come out in the past week or two. So that's why I was considering this a newer knife. Regardless, the other cool thing you'll notice about this is when it's closed, there's no exposed blade. You only see the handle. I really like that when they do that on a folder. It's very fidgety, by the way. You can use the gravity open. I mean, it's just swinging real free on bearings. And the other cool thing is that even though this button is not protected, it's not inset in any way, it doesn't stand too proud. And I'll show you some examples in a moment of some others that do. So if I just place the pad of my thumb there and don't press too hard, it's still locked. A little bit of wobble because I've disengaged it partially. But it isn't until I push the thumb in that it will close. That's a beautiful thing because especially with that button so exposed in your right hand grip, you're not really touching it much anyway. It really depends upon what your grip is. Certainly this is easily held in a point down edge in Pical style. Not that I would buy this knife for that purpose. See if I can back out a little bit more. Yeah, so fidgety. Even me, who is not a front flipper sort of a guy, I can easily front flip this with that corner. There's plenty of jimping on there. We've got a detent that is not soft, but not very strong. So wondering, yeah, see, you can flick it out. There is an extra way to open it, right? There we go. Don't have a lot of room in front of the camera. Normally, I like to use the wrist flick this way to open knives. I've been doing that for a long time, since even some backlocks way back when. So the clip is nice. It's maybe a little long for the overall length of the handle. I think it could be a little bit shorter. Easily transferable for lefties. Easy open. You can just open and close this guy all day long. Very similar action to the Valkyrie, which I happen to like. Valkyrie, I didn't bring it out on the table here, but they're about the same size. Speaking of sizes, why don't we do that? Let's get the old tape out. I'm using a new tape today. Might be a little more visible. Who knows? So we've got 7 1/8 overall. Got a blade of exactly 3 inches. Got a sharpening choil there, which takes away about 1/8 of an inch. So 7/8, 2 7/8. And other thicknesses and such in inches. Handle is only 0.47. Blade is 0.10 in millimeters, 2.7 millimeters. And it's fairly light with plenty of weight relieving. Let's see what we got. Okay. And got 3.57, 357 Magnum, 3.57 ounces. Why is it that weight, which really isn't bad? Well, let's shine a little light on the situation. There is your weight relieving. 1, 2, 3, 4 circles on each side. So taking plenty of metal out of that exposed steel liner. And it is a fairly thick liner, I would say, for the blade, making it pretty rigid, pretty strong. The lockup, no lock rock, no blade play, 0, 0. Those are the numbers we like when it comes to blade play. How is it ergonomically? Well, you can see. It's about a fist width for me, maybe just a little wider than that, see? Plenty to hold on to, plenty flat. And can you use it for utility? Yeah, absolutely. You need about a 45-degree angle to present the tip, unlike Wharncliffe, where you could work with it a little bit lower. Seems to have a nice edge. Don't know if I got any paper with me. Should we do a paper cut? Never know. Oh, miracle of video editing, I'm back with the paper. Pretty damn sharp. Not bad at all for out-of-the-box sharpness. Now we're going to get into some compares. I like what Vosteed has been doing with their Trek lock. I believe they call this their Trek lock. And it's sort of identifiable by the cross hatches there on the button. I noticed some of their earlier ones were smooth buttons. I don't know if there's any relevance to that or not. Here is the Sentinel Strike, a new knife by Sandvik, and it's a button lock. And I can't press with my thumb unless it's very hard before I unlock that knife. And you know, what I'm noticing as I get more button locks in is that some close very easily. Here's a Kaiser Brat. And they've stood that button up pretty high, but they've also sheltered it with that, indent there, that cutaway in the handle. But It doesn't take much to close it when you don't want it to close. Okay. A little bit of stick there too, but one of my favorite button locks nonetheless, very fidgety. The Kaiser Brat, that is a integral G10 knife. One solid piece, beautifully done, of G10. Okay. And we've got the concept. And the reason it was a little slow opening is that my one problem with this knife is that they eliminated jimping here. That is really too bad. This is a Morgan Cohen's design, adapted from the full-size Shikari. It's the Shikari SBD, I believe. SBL button lock. Shikari SBL. Boy, I forget when they start using numbers and acronyms, or I kind of get lost. But this button, to my point, again, if I press the pad of my thumb, as if I might do if I'm using it, you know, something grips it and pushes it in, it will not close. You have to be very deliberate, okay? And that's what I feel they all need to do with their button locks, is the same as was done here. This is about the best that I've brought out so far to show you. And I think that's all I've got for today as far as demos on the button locks go. As far as size goes, it's not a large knife. It is certainly smaller than the Griptilian by a good deal, good inch. And it is certainly smaller than the Ontario Rat 1. Way smaller. Okay. So again, smallish knife. I don't think too small. 3 inches is a good length for a utility knife for EDC. It's got a nice blade shape with a forward belly, nice flat in here, and as we saw, it's got a high flat grind almost all the way to the top of the spine, and good thickness on the edge, or the point. That's what I'm trying to talk about. Pretty good thickness out to the point. Not that you're going to be stabbing things a lot with this. It's really more of an EDC knife. It's more of, I'd even call it a gentleman's carry. But cool the way they set up the disappearing blade, completely flush. Those two corners are your openers. Short runs of jimping, but very, very, very effective jimping. You can even roll that out front flip. Well, there you have it, the Corgi. Relatively new entry by Vosteed into the button lock market. 60 bucks, not bad. And take about 10% off with White Mountain, you're doing pretty well. So the $60 price was the one I just saw before this review on Amazon. So if I'm off with that, you may find that they're actually a little bit less at White Mountain. So we shall see. All right, folks, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe. I'll be back with many more reviews coming up. Got lots of knives in the wings to show you. Be well.